Hi, I'm Wayne from howtofish.com.au. I've been doing a bit of winter fishing in the local area. So this is freshwater fishing, and typically in winter the freshwater species don't bite that much. Things like all of our native species seem to close down and have very, very short feeding windows. A lot of the introduced species are exactly the same. If you like chasing redfin, for instance, they do exactly that. And if you like catching carp or tench or roach, they do the same. They do feed, but the window of feeding is very, very narrow. It often occurs in the low light periods at night, very early morning or very late evening. But there's also a time in the middle of the day, especially if you get a sunny day, when the water warms up and the fish become more active. And that's what I was targeting. So I just went to a local area, hoping to catch anything that was there. I know that there are some small fish in there, so I always take a light rod with a small hook, and I take a heavier rod with heavier line, heavier and larger hooks, just in case something big is biting. I take minimum baits. I'll just take corn, I'll take bread, and I'll take worms, and they seem to catch just about everything. The other thing that I'll do to attract the fish is I take my bite hard burley, you mix this with water, and then you put it into a burley cage. Rather than use a sinker, you use a burley cage like these. Okay, you press the burley into the cage of whatever you're using, and then of course you can cast that out. That spreads in the water, attracts the fish, and they find your bait. The thing is, with any of this, you don't put a lot of it in. So what I'll do is just simply cast to a spot once or twice, leave my bait in there for about 10-15 minutes. If I don't catch anything there, I cast to the next spot. So you're not putting a lot of burley in, but the burley has no food in it. So while they are attracted to the burley, it's like the smell of a barbecue. They smell the barbecue, but there's no food except for that one sizzling steak, and that's the bait on your hook, and hopefully they'll take that. Anyway, I was able to get out. I started on it wasn't a warm day, it was winter, but I started on a sunny day. That was warming the surface of the water. It was quite comfortable in the sun, and then the day changed and it got dark and cold and windy, but at least I was able to catch some fish. And I do apologise, the sun was actually reflecting off the water at the start of the video, so it was a little bit hard to see that first fish, but hang around and look at what we did just to get a couple of those in. I just put this rod in looking for really small fish, and oh my goodness, I've caught a fairly decent carp here. I have got a tiny hook on. I was thinking there might be roach in here, so I've got a size 16 hook on. It's tiny. So, and I've just this time, so I've got to play him really, really gently. I cannot pull him in because the hook is just so small. I can't believe this. Just yes, he's going all over the place, and not really much I can do about it. I'm just hoping he gets tired. I think I'm going to lose this guy. I didn't bring a net. It could go. Wow. Thankfully, it's very cold, so he's not fighting as strong as he could have. I can't believe that. I'm going to have to try and lift him out, and I'm not sure I can. I'm going to almost have to get into the water with him. Look at that. That's a decent sized fish on a tiny hook. There he is. Have a look at the size of this guy. Like, he's no small fish. Whoa. As you can see. Wow. Amazing. Tiny, tiny little hook. I cast out a few more times, and after about 40 minutes, I hooked into this fish. Now this is on my second rod. This was a heavier rod with a larger hook. I had a couple of pieces corn on there, and that's exactly what the fish wanted. So it was good to see that the sun was out, and even though it was a pretty cold day, it was warming the water enough to keep the fish active.
So if you can pick that warm part of the day, you might get the odd fish, and it's really great to do this in winter when fishing generally starts to slow down in our rivers and lakes. It's really interesting how conditions can change in winter. It went from sunny to overcast, and the wind then became really cold. I reckon the temperature dropped by about 5 degrees while I was there. The only reason I stayed is because I got a couple of bites. Now the Berley cage that I changed on was a closed-end Berley cage. That came down to a line stop, so it was a running Berley cage, or a running sinker normally. I tied onto that then a lightweight trace, and I had a very small hook. This was a size 14 hook, which is what I use in what I call my survival pack. Now the great thing about these is I use a snap swivel to attach the Berley cage to the line, which makes it really easy to change Berley cages if you need to, because they have different weights on them, to change the weight to use a different type of Berley cage which might be more effective in the conditions. It started to get too cold, and just as I was about to leave, I got another bite. And this turned out to be yet another carp. It was in the shallows. I'd been just casting in front of me into the shallows, and this one then took the bait. So once again, I was using relatively light gear. I was using a small hook. I'd used corn here to attract the fish, so that was great. They liked the corn, and it was just a matter of getting it in. This guy, though, was a little bit bigger than the other fish, which made it a little bit harder to get it in. Anyway, after a little bit of a fight, especially since it was cold weather, I was able to manage it onto the bank. So I got it in here, just around the weeds, just into the shallows, got it right up to the bank, but I didn't have my net. So once I went round to try and pick it up, it broke the lightweight trace. If I had my net, I would have easily got this fish in, and you can see it's just in the shallows there, but I couldn't get it out.
If you enjoy winter fishing, if you like to get out there and fish your local waterways and you've had a bit of success catching some fish, let us know about it. Comment below so we can all just hear what you've done. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And for any of the gear and tactics that I was using, go to my website, howtofish.com.au. See you next time.